Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for being my friend. I have some very rich friends here in the audience, and I so much appreciate you being here. We should be together more often, don't you think? It's just the nature of progress that friendship is the thing that really makes great things happen. The thing I want to start off this meeting with saying is the word welcome, and we can say it in many different ways. This is a place where us, GIS professionals, can actually get together and think and share and learn from each other. Each of you is contributing something. The purpose of this meeting is to share what we're contributing, to understand from each other, to grow personally, and also to grow as a community. Because in fact, you are a very diverse group of people from, as Sohail said, 50 different countries. But much richer than that, some of you are engineers, some of you are planners, some of you are specializing in food, as we've heard. Some of you had big vision of bringing a whole SDI together for communities and for the entire world. Others of you are very technical and focused on specialized things. And many ologies, geology, sociology, climatology. It's very rich, actually. So I always love these meetings because they're an opportunity to learn and share. At the beginning of my talk, I'd like you all to stand up and meet one new person and tell them who you are and why you're here. Can you do that for me now, please? Perfect. Thank you. Good job. Look, these couple of days that we're with each other, we want to grow our... Well, keep talking, yes. That's right. Okay, maybe I should just shut up and let you guys do the work, right? In this first moment, you can realize how very rich this audience is. You're full of experiences. And while I want to share some experiences of what I'm working on, mostly I want during these next couple of days for you to build friendship and networks. What you're doing in one node of our network empowers the whole network. So having shining lights, as we've heard this morning, in Egypt, in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, and in Saudi Arabia, and in Kenya, and it's just so fantastic to learn from each other, because real experiences, sharing real experiences, as opposed to non-experienced experiences that we get from books and so on, is much more powerful. In 2 or 3 little words or a couple sentences, you can characterize success and progress. Now, your work is also reflecting this diversity. You're working on virtually every one of the big challenges that our world is facing. Climate change, urbanization, overpopulation, loss of biodiversity. These are big things that we're all facing. And you, particularly in this room, are special people in the sense that you are coming together and sharing and working on these problems using this amazing technology that we all love. I want to start off this meeting by just sharing a few examples. Some wonderful ones have already been shared. I will do it very briefly to give you a sense of what you in this room, but also your colleagues around the world, several million of them, are working on. Some of them in environmental modeling and assessment, in groundwater, in air quality, in loss of biodiversity across whole continents. These next examples show your work in natural resource management, everything from petroleum, using AI tools like that lower left-hand corner to discover where best to drill new oil wells, to forest management and geologic analytics. The work that's happening in the marine world is just amazing in terms of exploring the resource potential of our oceans. These maps show examples of work in cadastre systems, land records, a kind of foundation for the civil society. Up on the left, you'll see examples from Kuwait and Jordan, managing the fundamental fabric of property ownership. But that's not enough. You can see the analytics that are associated with this to give us new perspectives of how we need to manage land more productively. I'm particularly fond of these next examples, which are showing creating the future. GIS is helping us envision and plan for more sustainable environments. In Abu Dhabi, developing whole new towns. In South Korea, looking at redevelopment of existing towns. And look at the beautiful array visualization of seeing the future and acting on it. GIS is moving into buildings. Spatial analytics and visualization is helping us not only see the whole city, but also the details of performance within buildings. How are we doing from an energy perspective? Emergency routing through buildings, et cetera, et cetera. In the transportation field, GIS is helping us manage now airports, little cities, everything from runway approaches to all the gates and ramps that are being managed. And look at this roadway status map. It's a real-time roadway status, wiring up all the traffic that's going on. Where is this? This is in Mongolia. Isn't that interesting? We are reaching the remote areas of the world. In the lower left, we see bus stop planning in Abu Dhabi, and in New York City, bicycle sharing suitability sites. It's spatial problem solving in transportation and in engineering, the detail fabric. How do we manage people? How do we see dashboards of their work and progress? The funny little map of red hexagons, this map is not appropriate here in the Middle East. It deals with frost heaving. That's when ice and snow come. This is in South Dakota, and it breaks sidewalks. Well, this is not a very good application for here, but you get a flavor of it anyway. I'm trying to make a joke, but you guys are not laughing, so I'm worried. Utilities, electrical utilities, telecom utilities are using GIS very extensively and productively. My favorite slide here is the one on the lower right, which is augmented reality. I can now walk along with my iPad and see under the ground what the pipes are. I'm seeing beyond what I can see visually. And in utility management, it's not just asset management, it's also planning and driving organizations to serve their customers better. GIS has grown up now in business, finding the right location for commercial activities, modeling the supply chain and its vulnerabilities, targeting new development locations for real estate and in the private sector. It's saving huge amounts of money. UPS, the big transportation package company, last year saved $400 million by using GIS to automate their routing. And posts, whether it's in Egypt or whether it's in Switzerland or whether it's in the United States, are saving not only hundreds of millions of dollars in routing deliveries, but they're also saving fuel. They're using less streets, less congestion within cities. They're making business smarter. Now, in the public health field, as the previous presentation just represented, GIS is showing us patterns of diseases and also demographic voting profiles. We're tracking things like mirrors, for example, across Saudi Arabia, and on and on. In this dangerous world, some of you are making our communities safer by understanding patterns of crime and predicting crime using new advanced tools of machine learning and AI. And also, GIS in the lower left, this orange and green map is remarkable because it's helping us target where we should spend money on a priority basis for public investments, for public safety investments, like where to build new facilities and also where to put our people in times of emergency. Our world is becoming, well, it's changing, and disasters seem to be showing up, whether they are the streets of Paris, social disasters, or hurricanes, or in my state, California, fires. Also, we're seeing social changes, dramatic things like the map of South Sudan here, mapping out refugee camps and migration routes from the Middle East towards Europe. Geography, the science of our world, provides us ways to understand and model what's going on. Look at the map in the lower left of humanitarian responses in Pakistan. Change is happening, and it's happening at a faster and faster pace. Your work is opening up geography, which in a sense is opening up communities for engagement. Open data portals, citizen engagement apps, as we've heard from the remarkable presentations before me, are helping us take the community and get engaged into the government's business and this is resulting in better government, my strong opinion. And this is not just happening in Dubai and Abu Dhabi or other communities around the planet, it's also happening at the global level. This vision of an SDI for the world with SDGs indicators being shared by each country into a global picture with distributed, federated GIS information is going to change the world. It's going to move us from where we are today and the examples in the lower right of collaboration among all of the different countries in this mission. GIS is a central part. Now, one of the aspects of GIS is map making. It's a visualization tool. And we are seeing this visualization happening in a wide spectrum, all the way from DNA mapping in the upper right to mapping the entire network of roads and features for the entire world. A multi-billion feature database now being managed by the NGA. And then just beautiful cartography examples here showing us where we have good maps and where we don't. Story maps are a new medium of cartography, and each day between 5,000 and 10,000 new maps are published on the web, and each day hundreds of millions of views of these story maps are being made. This is a new language. It's not a newspaper. It's not an atlas like we have traditionally. It's not even web maps. It's maps that tell stories, stories of change. The peace agreements, for example, in Colombia, were all told through stories in almost real time. The fires and tree mortality happening in California is now a story. Maps are, in a way, stories. All these examples that I've showed you are stories. But this is now going live with multimedia, telling the stories of what's happening in your organization so real people can see context, not just the content. And for all of us, cartographic design is important. We don't just want to make maps of the content where it's at. We want to tell stories with it. And this is the big challenge for all of us, to think creatively about what stories are we trying to tell about our world, about our community, that makes it a richer community, that allows us to collaborate in various ways. Now, this conference, we've talked a little bit about what's next. Some of the speakers that we've already heard are contemplating what's next. And at the beginning of this conference, it's worthwhile for us to think about, to pause and think about what's next. What's next for our world? What's next for our organization? What's next for our families? how are these interrelated? And I suppose most of you thought, what's next for technology? And I will certainly talk about that. But before I talk about that, I want us to get aligned that we should be, particularly you should be, people that are thinking about what's next for you personally, and then the contributions that you're making into organizations and ultimately your footprint on the planet. Today, we live in a complex and interconnected world. What happens here affects that. What happens in this organization affects that organization. And geography, the science of our world, is a beautiful framework for understanding and interconnecting and modeling our world, both the social, cultural world and also the natural world. It's a way to organize how we think. This is the core basis for GIS. And our world is continuously changing. It has been from the beginning of time, I suppose. But now, right now, the pace of change is accelerating. And we see this in even your work, the maps that are being made. And for all of us, it's creating significant challenges. Some would say it's threatening our world and even our existence as human beings. And the evidence is all around us. We read it in the newspaper or on the television or social media in overpopulation and climate change and the lack of regard for nature and the nature that sustains all of us. We're losing biodiversity. Today, you and I have not only a special role, but you and I are living at a time where no humans have ever lived or experienced what's going on right now. And while we have our normal day work, if we step back from it, we see that GIS professionals, particularly you, have a special role to play. Clearly, the world needs more understanding, less polarization. It needs science, and it needs collaboration and action. And I'm so proud of what you guys are doing. I mean, those examples, the examples that we heard from this morning, are aspiring to create a better future. We can ask ourselves, what can we as individuals do? And lots of people are working on these problems up and down the ladder, but particularly geospatial people can apply the power of geographic thinking to envision what could be possible, to improve our cities, to improve productivity, to create better efficiency. Well, you can look at these words. They are the words that are the context for the lives that you and I live in. And we need to accelerate our contributions. We have to keep moving and learning. Now is not the time to, well, I'm getting older now, I should sit back and relax. Those days are gone. Those of you who have bright minds, and you're full of it here in this room, people that can actually think, we need to accelerate our contributions in this field. Keep learning, keep leveraging our best technology and our best science and our best design thinking to create a better and more sustainable planet. Now, I fall back on this concept of the science of where, the combination of geographic science and technologies. And this process and framework provides us a kind of benchmark. It allows us to organize our geographic data, whether it's from the new age of social media and citizen science, or whether it's traditional measurements. It's part of it that can be visualized and analyzed and modeled, and then driven into how we design our cities in a more sustainable way and make decisions in action. This process, whether you are in mapping or whether you're in data science or whether you are in decision making and planning, you're all players in this bigger, beautiful thing called the science of where. The science of where is a foundation for GIS. It's also a foundation for simpler applications of mapping and location. And it's also the foundation for what's emerging as geospatial information systems. And we already saw some evidence of this, whether it's permitting or citizen science. What we're seeing is these spin-offs of the science of where into urban planning, into real-time tracking, into citizen engagement. And as we look to what's next, the power of this science will get richer and richer and more deeply embedded into virtually everything we do. That's really great news. We will evolve from GIS as a specialist technology to the work of GIS becoming pervasive. And I want to talk about that and how that happens. What is GIS today? Certainly it is a system for managing and applying geographic data, but it has three main big ideas. One is the idea of integration, the most powerful idea. We use location to integrate data from a federated network of content, and we use the technology of services to bring it together. It's also a powerful way to analyze things. And this is the data, this is the age of lots of big data, and also it's the age where everybody understands about analytics. Certainly we want analytic-driven government and data-driven government. And spatial analytics, using the power of geography, is a golden key. And finally, communication. Maps are a language that we can exercise to talk to citizens and engage them in whole new ways. Now, this technology is leading us to solve problems more holistically, looking at all the ologies mixed together. And it's also an environment for creating understanding among all of us. It's a platform certainly for organizations, but it's also contextually speaks to us as broad social animals. It's beautiful. That's why I love this field. It's advancing rapidly with new innovations in data, computing, and new tools. I suppose many of you want to hear about that. These three forces are resulting in new patterns of GIS, web GIS, and many of you have heard me talk about this in the past. I'm an old guy. I started with mainframe GIS. It was a pattern. And then we evolved to mini-computer GIS. And then we evolved to workstation GIS. And then we evolved to PC GIS. And then we evolved to client-server GIS. All of these were stages. And then we evolved to services like Google Maps out on the web, a map service. WebGIS is the next pattern, and many of you know this pattern, but it's part of this evolution. And it's being driven by new types of data, new kinds of sensing, new kinds of measurement, scientific as well as crowdsourcing and social media. It's being driven by new forms of computing, cloud, distributed computing, that allows us to bring things together dynamically as we need to. It's being driven by machine learning, computing, new styles. It's also being driven by literally hundreds of little tool inventions that are helping us fuel this pattern, making it much easier. In the old days, you needed to have practically a PhD to be able to do GIS. Today, GIS is becoming pervasive. And this WebGIS pattern is a new modern architecture. I want to clearly articulate it as something new so that you're with me on this, because it's important that you recognize that we're in a huge evolutionary step which is going to make GIS pervasive. It uses web services to connect content to applications, and those applications live in individual environments, teams, organizations, and whole communities. This web services-based GIS means dial tone of content, not the content itself. It means publishing services. And that environment, living in clouds or across the web, is very engaging. And it supports this concept of sharing and collaboration. One of the reasons why I wanted you to connect today is because of this vision of sharing and connection and leveraging each other's knowledge. Not just experiential knowledge, but the data and tools that you have. What I'm saying is that WebGIS as a pattern is a framework to allow us to take distributed knowledge and unify it. Get this idea? And this is sort of the beginning of this conference. I want to make sure all of us are on board with what we're dealing with, because it is a whole new generation. It isn't just about making a map anymore or doing analytics. It's a new kind of architecture. And what's making it compelling is it lives on the web. It has web maps and builders and smart mapping and lots of little tools that make it come together. Core to it is web maps, a new generation of mapping that's services-based. I can create it as an individual and share it with my organizations. I can mash up these maps. I have a common content framework that we can communicate with. Also apps, maps and apps. Apps are making it come alive for everyone and everywhere, on devices with citizens, indoors, in boardrooms, in dash displays, wherever. For the whole world, and also for my little house. This medium of web services can drive us to understand location in a whole new way. I can do location analytics, meaning I can bring these various distributed maps together and do simplified drag and drop analytics, something that in the past we needed to be an expert to do. And that is opening up the world through this app like Insights. It's opening up the world to spatial analytics in a whole new way. Sort of like BI for spatial. Sort of like Tableau for spatial. I can drag and drop data and assemble them and combine them and see insights to special problems. Now this world is also not just local. We're learning how to take the whole world and model it using AI and big data sets, remote sensing. We can see the patterns of our footprints as human beings. We can look at ecology in a whole new way. We can think about the vision of saving half of the Earth in terms of biodiversity. These new ideas emerge as a result of the technology. We can consider SDIs for the whole planet because we can deal with the data volumes and the connections that tie us together as a species. WebGIS is also helping us deal with a kind of transformation. And I want to spend a couple of minutes on this transformation. You know, many of us, most of us, I suppose, lived through digitizing operations, taking sequential workflows and automating them one by one. The planners did it, the engineers did it, the scientists did it. Stovepipe automation of departments or specialized activities. What WebGIS allows us to do is to connect those sequential digital workflows and transform them into a whole using location. Look at the diagram. I'm moving from automation to digital transformation. And that transformation means I'm using location as the integrator. So I can take distributed, federated services and bring them together dynamically. This means a simultaneous integrated operational organization. It means the organization begins to work at the speed of light. These examples that we saw in both Abu Dhabi and Dubai show it very clearly. Abu Dhabi is one of the leaders in this in the world. They have not only automated the different departments, but using portal web services technology, they're unifying them. And they're thinking about how to connect through technologies like the hub and also their management information center, this TAM idea, bringing all the content together for senior managers to see all in real time. Now, that's just an abstract idea here. Let's take a look at it. They have the notion of bringing all the content into a center. I call it a MIC. A MIC. I hope you learned this new term today. A management information center where distributed content comes together from different parts of an organization, and leaders can sit around and look at it and talk, and citizens can do the same thing. Screens in the MIC will show in real time what's going on. Analytics, real time, dashboards, and support systems for decision making. The WebGIS is also being applied in Los Angeles, California. It's being used to connect citizens through the hub, getting community engagement, creating a new kind of social capital in their communities. We have lots of problems in Los Angeles, and the mayor, Mayor Garcetti, had the vision, I want to get all my citizens to help me because I don't have enough staff in LA to deal with homelessness or problems of trash or all the issues that are facing all modern cities around the world. I just don't have enough money. So by connecting around initiatives, he's changing how the city is operating. And in New York, they're wiring up everything in New York that moves and changes with live data feeds. Police, Public Works, Parks Department, looking at real-time videos, real-time observational data. I love this new word called GOT, the GIS Internet of Things, or whatever it is. You get the idea. This is happening. Look, digital transformation is, from my perspective, just beginning. We're seeing it already with things like autonomous cars and immersive experiences, pervasive mapping. All of these things are happening at an increasingly rapid pace. So you and I are in many ways privileged in the sense that we're living in an era where exponential technical advancement is happening. And the application of this is limited only by our imagination. You can see in my little drawing here, I see WebGIS, this distributed pattern, as a way to bring it together, to create pervasive geographic understanding in society. That's a big idea. What's next is massive transformation. And those of you in this field will realize the power that location brings. It's going to be the central information system. It isn't going to be financial systems. Financial systems will be integrated into it. It won't be HR systems. HR systems will be integrated into it. As we've seen this morning, it won't be just citizen systems. They'll be integrated into it. Whole organizations will transform using the power of location to bring it together. How do we in organizational settings take this next step? My advocation is we embrace geospatially enabled digital transformation and leverage this science to create a better future, to not only create better efficiency, but also to literally change the game in organizations. And that means all of us have to continuously be learning. This is no time to sit back. It's no time to take your paddle out of the water. It's time to row and move faster to address these amazing, amazing challenges that we're facing. My phrasing on this is to create a geoscience-based foundation for the future. This is I think it's our only hope. as human beings. I will conclude my talk here by talking very short on what's next with respect to our work. After the break, we're going to see some amazing applications of it. So we're going to take a break in a few minutes, but I want you back because seeing it is believing it. ArcGIS is the vessel within which we apply our research. And many of you know it. It's a platform, open, services-based, and distributed. This platform is actually 3 systems in one. It's a system for managing record keeping, so-called system of records. It's a system for insights, which is analytics. And finally, it's a system for engaging people around maps and identities. It's a unique IT technology in the sense that it's all 3 of these things in one platform. Portal is the technology that actually abstracts all types of geographic knowledge. And I want you to take a moment and study this diagram. It's probably the most important diagram I'll share. Portal is a technology that references all kinds of data and services. It's a place where we reference all kinds of apps and models so that we can share them. I build an app, you can use my app as well as my content. It's a place where we can reference the results of my work, mashups and analytics as a catalog. It's a place where I can have a role. I'm Jack. I do digitizing of maps. And that gives me privileges to certain kinds of information and not for other kinds. And finally, it organizes groups of people so that we can share within groups. This is the single most important technology of the modern age of GIS. This allows us to abstract content in distributed computers of any type. It leaves the data where it's at, and it views the data dynamically as services. It abstracts the data into a new set of objects called maps and layers and 3D scenes. Do you follow me on this? This is an important one. It allows us to take heterogeneous data. It allows us to take tabular and administrative data and view tabular and administrative data in a geosense. It allows us to take pictures from drones or wherever. It allows us to take real-time data and it abstracts it into a simplified form of maps and layers. You might think of them as views. This simple set of objects can then be looked at by any kind of app, anywhere, anytime, on any device. From thick clients like desktop clients to field objects to dashboards to design tools to story maps to whatever. That's the power of WebGIS. And this platform can be configured, as we've already seen, into complete solutions. Solutions for permitting or HR or whatever it might be. By taking solution apps, we can put them together. We can share solution templates among each other and configure them so that your work can be shared with others to make things go faster. The words here are rapid delivery of value by having a common framework and platform that we work on. Now, I'm going to conclude what we're doing here by pointing out Esri itself is building 2 new complete solutions for urban environments. One of them is the hub. I've talked about that already. That allows us to share and get communities involved with us. And the other one is called Urban, ArcGIS Urban. The hub is designed to say, I would like to connect around initiatives all my citizens and getting my citizens to help me on my work activities. And I'll communicate with my citizens with powerful dashboards on the open web and community portals, and I'll get data and share data. Has lots of stakeholders. We now have 20 cities that have implemented this, and there's going to be hundreds more doing it. The second solution is urban. And today we're going to see urban in action. This is not a GIS. It is a specialized system for urban planners. It takes the data from a GIS, a 3D model, and puts it into a cloud environment and allows people to set up all the landscape indicators, urban landscapes of a city. And then allows designers to design alternative futures for a city at the project level or the urban design level, and immediately understand the impacts. What's the ratio, what's the impact, what's the environmental impact, what's the impact on sewers, what's the impact on roads, like that. This is a solution that's going to leverage GIS into the future. Esri has been working for some time on configuring ArcGIS online for Africa, and we are announcing today that we're going to make a gift of this portal and all of its content to everyone in Africa and everyone working in Africa as individuals. There'll be commercial applications on it, but this is an enormous attempt to bring together all the content in Africa to direct this content to individuals that need to do good work. And the bank is going to join with us, the UN is going to join with us as a way to bring geospatial content and address some of the issues that our distinguished speaker talked about access to geospatial technologies across the whole of Africa. Well, we've talked quite a bit of time about that portal. We are also announcing today a gift that we're making for conservation across Africa. It's called the Conservation Intelligence Platform. This is a program similarly that we've been working on for about a year, and it is a complete software solution for every African park and conservation area. We've been doing this together with National Geographic Society, and this will launch early next year so that every organization across Africa interested in conservation will have a free platform for analytics, inventory work, science work, monitoring, and communications about African resources. I'll conclude my talk about saying something about Esri. Esri is now 50 years old, almost, a few more months. We've been working hard to support you. Its purpose is to support our users and advance the science of where and GIS. I'm very happy to report that we're growing at a rate faster than we ever have. 50 years ago, if we'd only imagined what it would be today, I'm just completely blown away by it. But mostly I'm blown away by you as my colleagues and partners in various activities. We not only support you doing your work better with GIS, but we also have many other activities in education and conservation that we care about. You know that we are interested in making a difference using this science, and you guys are the evidence that this actually works. Beyond basic software, we spend a lot of time and resources in building professional materials, books, websites, learning lessons, holding conferences like this that are designed to help you grow your own professional knowledge about what works. Esri is also very privileged to have a partner ecosystem of over 2,000 partners that work with us to help bring our technology alive in the IT and data and services world. Two that I want to call out are particularly strategic for us. One of them is SAP. Many of you know SAP. They're one of the co-sponsors of this conference in big enterprise systems. We have pioneered the field of integrating our technology with theirs. The second one is Autodesk Corporation, who we've engineered solutions to bring their technologies integrated with GIS and smart city environments. They're sharing some of their data formats, we're sharing our formats so that we can not only have beautiful GISs, but integrate the whole world of design and build that Autodesk is leader in with our world. And then there are just thousands of others. I'll take this occasion to say we are interested in startups, and I want your help in this. We are launching a new program this winter to provide free software to free programs to free education for startups to get them to build new generations of innovation on top of our basic platform. I think this will launch thousands of new enterprises across Africa and across the Middle East. In a couple of days, we're going to have a huge developer conference. There'll be over 500 developers that are here in this room learning this technology and making a difference. We also enjoy a series of special relationships. Hundreds of organizations in the NGO spectrum, people like Jane Goodall, people like Ed Wilson, people like the Audubon Society, the Gates Foundation, they team with us to be able to deliver our tools for free to NGOs across the world. You are part of this, and I really want to say thank you for those of you who belong to these organizations for that relationship. Esri cares a lot about education. Earlier this year, we announced that we were going to make ArcGIS Online available for free to every secondary school on the planet. This is to help STEM education and create our next generation of geospatially enabled kids. Today, that is the beginning of December, marks a time where we've had over 5 million students enrolled since August in using ArcGIS Online, those tools like the Africa GeoPortal showed, integrated into their core curriculum. Those of you who have children, those of you who are interested in schools, please take advantage of this, becoming a GeoMentor, helping kids understand, helping teachers bring this, your valuable expertise to life. Another major program we care a lot about is conservation. And we have now about 11,000 NGOs that support us in looking at creating a better future with respect to protecting sensitive areas that are remaining on the planet. I've talked a lot about change, and I'll reference Charles Darwin, who said once, "It's not the strongest species that survive, nor even the most intelligent, but the ones that are most responsive to change." And that, ladies and gentlemen, I think is the challenge for all of us. We are living right now in an exponentially changing world, and as we know, it's creating challenges for us as individuals and our organizations, even threatening our life support systems today. And look, this is actually happening. This is actually happening. And we need, as professionals, to transform our understanding of the world and how we carry out everything we do as individuals, as organizations. And GIS, it seems to me, provides the best platform to rapidly scale what must be done. Our collective work, and I call it collective because I really understand it as being a collective network of contributions, I think will help create and inspire what's next. And what's next, in my mind, is a better future. It's a better future. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.